What is up, YouTube? Matt McKeever here, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about that COVID money. So, have you guys got some COVID money? Do you want to get some COVID money? Have you been hearing about all the different programs, stimulus, or support programs out here in Canada? Have no idea what programs are going on? Yeah, I've been a little bit busy too, just trying to keep my business above water. So we thought today we'd give you guys a quick little synopsis of all the different changes to a bunch of the different government programs here in Canada in 2021 for the month of January. So let's just kind of jump into it. So a few things we're going to cover in today's video are you concerned about having to repay your CERB money you received back in 2020? We're going to cover that. Have you heard about how to report COVID-19 benefits at tax time? We're finally starting to get some guidance in that regards. And then why must you be careful about applying for benefits after you travel outside of Canada? So if you've gone traveling and then you're going to apply for benefits, be aware there's a couple of asterisks there. So in case somehow this is your first time coming on the internet in the last year, 2020 was kind of a rocky year. There was a lot of times we were under lockdown. Sometimes we were allowed to work. Sometimes we weren't. Sometimes it was illegal to be in business. Sometimes you were allowed to be in business. So it's been a yo-yo for both employers as well as employees. So the government has came out with a bunch of different programs to try and help smooth the process for both employers as well as employees. Also, in case you've been under a rock, there's a vaccine coming out, but it's already getting delayed. And there are controversies around it as well. So who knows when we can expect a normal working environment like we would have had pre-2020. So until then, we can probably assume that there's going to be different types of government programs out there to help support us through these wildly challenging times. And then since December, a lot of major COVID-19 benefit related stories, have issues that have emerged. So there's been a lot of miscommunications actually from the CRA. The CRA actually mixed up themselves a bunch. And then we had different government spokespeople mixing us up as well. So we're going to try and shed some light on all the confusion around these different subject matters. And then finally, we also just want to catch you guys up on any of the bigger developments that have happened since 2021. So first of all, let's talk about the CRA letters regarding CERB. And again, reminder, everything we're going to talk about today, there's a link in the video description down below. So really encourage you guys, check out the additional resources and information. Obviously, in these 10, 15-minute live videos, we can only cover so much. So there's a link to this CRA letter. But in November, the CRA started sending out what's called education letters. And so these were essentially to anyone that received CERB. So that's the CERB program. And CRA believed may need to repay the money through the Canada Emergency Response Benefit. That's what CERB stood for. So essentially, this could total as high as $14,000 if someone applied for the maximum amount of benefits allowable throughout the entire period. And the CRA explained this letter was sent to people who, based on their records, didn't meet eligibility requirements. So again, it's not an automatic, you're going to have to pay it back, but definitely a red flag there. This could have been due to someone not, filing their taxes the prior year, or someone who had poor earnings in 2019, but were doing well at the beginning of 2020. So there can be a bunch of different unique scenarios. Obviously, when the government puts together a program, you can't put together a program for every situation. You try and put together a program that's going to catch 95% of the common situations. And then the self-employed were convinced their CERB eligibility was based upon the $5,000 gross income rather than $5,000 net income. Now, as an accountant, I can immediately see the issue there, but let's understand a lot of people don't really understand the difference between gross revenue or gross income and net income. Net income is what we keep after the dust settles. Gross income is just what you're grossed. It's literally just the bulk, the total amount before you take any of your expenses out, any of your costs, your inputs. So for example, if I make something for $5,000 or I sell something for $5,000, but my input costs are $5,000, my gross income's $5,000, but my net income, $0. So that's kind of what we need to know in that regards. And then let's talk about the CRA screw up. So essentially, not helping all this was the CRA back in March 2020. There was a video of Federal Finance Minister Bill Morneau stating people with at least $5,000 revenue would qualify for CERB when in fact it was net income, not gross income. And then adding to the snowball effect was information dug up by several journalists and citizens alike. So they discovered that the CRA website didn't mention anything about net income being an eligibility condition until weeks after we had rolled out this program. So again, obviously there was a disconnect, a miscommunication, or just someone playing fucked up. Then moving on, the CRA initially fought hard against accusations of providing misleading information. But they've kind of backed off on that once the journalists really started jumping in there and being like, No, this definitely looks like you guys miscommunicate to us. And so obviously many applicants were freaked out because they thought they were eligible for certain monies, and now it turns out they're not. So applicants feared that having to pay back their CERB money back by the end of 2020, they didn't want to also face any tax consequences or penalties, because the interest and penalties the government charges you, the CRA, can add up. So again, in late December, then, in addition to misinformation on the CRA website, it was discovered that the CRA call center agents were also providing the wrong information. So CRA spokesperson Sylvia Branch responded with this quote, and this is from CTV News. So the government of Canada acknowledges that communications on this topic were unclear in the first few days after CERB was launched. This includes both the CERB web pages and the information provided to call center agents. We regret this lack of consistency or consistent clarity led some self-employed individuals to mistakenly apply to CERB despite being ineligible. So first things first, it doesn't sound like they're really backing off. If you're ineligible, it sounds like you're not going to be graced into it. However, Trudeau has came out and just said, at this time, you're not going to have to pay back in 2020, so don't panic. He said the government will work with Canadians to remedy the situation. So they have left themselves a little bit of wiggle room there if they decide to really back off of it. But it seems like the CRA is being relatively firm in their stance, but Trudeau a little bit wishy-washy. However, we are not sure quite yet what this news really means, and it is known, though, that the government isn't prepared to forgive CERB repayments as of now. That word now, though, I think is important. They may change their tune eventually. Probably depends on how many voters are upset by it. So let's move on to tax time now and talk about really what can you expect if you did get some of that COVID money. So earlier this month, the CRA announced it had begun sending out those T4As. So those slips to those who received COVID-19 benefits. Now, if you guys don't know, my background is originally an accountant, a CPA. I've done a lot of personal taxes. I'm just going to tell you right now, just because you don't get the slip or you forget to give your slip to your accountant doesn't magically make it disappear. I've heard so many clients that are like, no, I never got the slip, so I don't have to claim it. It's like, nope. Especially when we're talking about government slips. So if you don't find yourself receiving that T4A, you should either be going onto your online portal or alternatively reaching out to the CRA and requesting another copy sent to you. And those in Quebec will receive both a T4A as well as an RL1 slip. That must be something specific to Quebec. I've got no idea what that is. And the T4A slip will show a person how much income they received through one or more of the following benefits. So that's going to be CERB, the CERB, which was the Canada Emergency Response Benefit, the Canada Emergency Student Benefit, which was CESB. We had the Canada Recovery Benefit, CRB, no E in there because it was no longer an emergency, apparently. Then we had the Canada Recovery Sickness Benefit, so that's the CRSB. And then finally, we had the Canada Recovery Caregiving Benefit, the CRCB. So again, lots of consonants, not very many vowels. But anyways, if you had any of those programs, you can expect to have a T4A and for the full amount that you received, and you'll have to claim that for taxes. So each benefit I mentioned here was considered taxable, with the CRB being an exception. This $500 a week benefit is taxed 10% at the source. I can get into how silly that sounds, but we'll deal with that another day. More specifically, a person who successfully applies for the benefit will get $900 for each 2-week benefit period. And in case you were unaware, an individual can only apply for CRB a maximum of 13 times or 26 weeks. And then income received from benefit programs needs to be disclosed on line 13000 of a 2020 income tax and benefit return. And then finally, if you have a CRA My Account and are filing taxes using NetFile certified software, the benefit income information should be automatically entered in your tax return. Then let's talk about the no quarantine benefits. So on January 11th, this is a whole nother article, all the links in the video description down below. But on January 11th, the government of Canada announced that citizens will now have to disclose whether they're applying for certain COVID-19 related benefits as a result of traveling abroad. So essentially, well, actually, I'll get into this in a second. So fundamentally, this is to stop people from traveling outside of Canada and then applying for CRB, CRCB, and CRSB upon their return. People have done this so they can have a source of income during their mandatory 14-day quarantine. The government is targeting those who have returned to Canada after leaving the country to visit loved ones, go on vacations, or deal with a real estate matter. Oh man, they're really targeting us, eh? So this new requirement will be retroactive to any claim that's been made on or after January 3rd, 2021. So essentially, if you did in 2020, it was free game. but they've kind of caught on to the games you guys were playing now, so no more dice going forward. So if you decide to travel for personal or pleasure reasons, or if it's a real estate business, other business appears to be fine, but if it's real estate business, go fuck yourself. You can't apply for those 14 days, although I actually don't think you should, so I'm just kind of being facetious here, but I'd love to hear your thoughts, your comments in the comment section, because again, I really do want this to become a two-way conversation, even though I'm actually talking a lot today and very fast, because there is so much to cover in all these different programs. And speaking of that, let's talk about the sick day support. So another major issue worth keeping an eye on is the ire directed towards Canada's Recovery Sickness Benefit, so CRSB. This program was created so that individuals can stay home if they're sick or believe they might be and need to see a medical professional. Currently, this federal benefit will provide people $450 a week after taxes for up to 2 weeks. Unfortunately, Canadians are only able to apply for this program once. So this is worrisome to many, as not everyone, especially blue-collar workers, have the ability, job security, or financial means to miss extra days of work due to illness. And seeing as the government of Canada wants people who are sick to stay home and not risk infecting others, is kind of curious, how they're really cracking down on this benefit and only letting you apply for it once. At the same time, it's obviously a benefit that'd be so easy to abuse. So understand, I'd take a lot of pot shots during this. I wouldn't want to be in the government's shoes right now. I think it's a very difficult position to be navigating. I can guarantee you there's no such thing as a right move. There's just degrees of less wrong. So as it stands, many are pushing the federal and local governments to make more paid sick days available to Canadians during this pandemic. I'd love to hear, what are your thoughts? Have you taken sick days? Remind me, what are sick days? And please don't teach my employees those words. And then always stay educated. So there's a lot going on with these benefits. Be sure to consider the rules and conditions of each and research a benefit before applying and after applying, just in case something changes along the way. Stay on top of it. Go check the CRA website. We've got links to a lot of the different websites you should be checking out. So for instance, the CRB application now requires a person to, in 250 characters or less, explain the situation that led to them requiring the financial assistance. So this didn't exist at the outset of the CRB program. So again, these things are changing. So it's important that you guys stay up to date. And below, we've provided you with a series of links that should help you better understand the benefits available to you. So I think we got through that, guys. I understand why I didn't want to cover this back in 2020. It seems like a lot of random shit, and they're constantly changing the rules and the requirements on you guys. So it definitely is difficult. But at the same time, if you're literally sitting at home and got nothing better to do, you should be able to stay on top of this, hopefully. So let's jump into the comments quickly. Appreciate all of you that were jumping in the comments, especially appreciate those when you're really getting into your opinion, sharing your perspective, and we love it when you guys share sources as well. So if you think that we got something right or wrong on this and you want to add to the discussion, I love it when you add a news article, a link to a journal, whatever it happens to be. So quickly checking this out. I've got a question. Oh, that's way too specific of a question. I won't be able to help you out there, Joe Schmo, unfortunately. Hey, what's up, Jeff Weibo? We got Nos, Kendra, and Aberrant Art all in the comments, and Didafim from Alberta. Appreciate you guys. And again, as always, I want this to be a two-way conversation. So let me know, what are your thoughts when it comes to all these different government programs? And have you applied to them? Was it easy? Was it hard? Do you think it should be easier or harder? Do you think that they've got it right when it comes to the different programs? It actually seems like you could probably string a lot of those programs together. You got 26 weeks here, grab 2 weeks here, a little bit more there, go travel, quarantine. It seems like a full-time job just trying to stay on top of it, but I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section down below. And reminder, this is a 30-day experiment. So if you guys want to see me continuously producing, timely content on Canadian news, I need to hear from you guys. So let me know in the comments, hit the like button, hit subscribe if you're new to the channel, and sharing is always caring when it comes to social media. So please share this on whatever social media platform you're watching. It really does matter, because we may not be here in 30 days if you don't share it. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. I'll see you.